hello again.
I thought I might find you here. I've brought something for you.
Loneliness is not merely the absence of companionship. It is a vast and formless presence, a shadow that lingers even in the brightest of rooms. The poets speak of solitude as a mirror, a means to confront oneself. But I have gazed into that mirror too long and found it to be a window into the infinite abyss of the self. At first, the solitude is comforting, even seductive. The quiet wraps itself around you like a shroud, and for a time you mistake it for peace. But as the days stretch into weeks, and the weeks into an indistinguishable haze of existence, you begin to hear the faintest whisper, not from without, but from within. The whisper grows louder, a voice that is not your own, yet one you recognize. It speaks of things you had forgotten, regrets long buried, desires you dared not name. It dredges up fragments of memories, each one sharper than the last, cutting you open until the distinction between self and shadow begins to blur. In loneliness, I have learned that the self is not a singular entity, but a fracturing. The more I lingered in isolation, the more I began to feel that I was not alone, not truly. The emptiness of my home seemed to pulse with an unseen presence, a formless weight that pressed against my thoughts. I would sit in the darkness, and though no one entered, I felt watched. The ancients spoke of the self as a sacred citadel, a place to retreat and find strength. But they did not speak of the cracks in the walls, the void that seeps through when the world grows too quiet. I would lie awake at night, and in the silence I heard things, subtle movements, faint breaths, as though my solitude was not as total as I believed. There is a terrible truth to loneliness, one that cannot be ignored. We are never truly alone, not even with ourselves. For within the recesses of the mind lies something vast and unknowable, a part of us that is alien, waiting to be heard. I began to dream of it, a shadowy form with no face, no features, only a presence. It whispered to me, not in words, but in sensations that crawled through my veins like ice. At first, I thought it to be madness, but now I am not so certain, for the shadow has grown more familiar, and in my solitude I have come to understand its nature. It is not a stranger. It is the part of me that has always been there, waiting for the silence to reveal its voice. Loneliness is not a state of being. It is a door, an aperture into the depths of the self, where the boundaries of identity begin to dissolve. It is a calling, an invitation to peer into the void within and confront the inescapable truth, that we are both the watcher and the watched, both the question and the answer. And as I sit here now, enveloped in silence, I wonder, is this shadow my true self, or merely the echo of something far older, far greater? Is loneliness not the absence of others, but the awakening of the thing that waits beneath our masks, beyond our fragile facades? I no longer seek the company of others, for in my solitude I have found the deepest connection of all. And yet, it is not a comfort, it is a revelation. Beware the quiet, for when you are truly alone, you will find that you are never alone, and the shadow that emerges may not be willing to let you leave.